Alright, it is July 31st, 2020. I'm in trek right now to the old stomping grounds in Olmos, Texas with Emma, my daughter, and also a little inspiration from my daughter, Dr. Mija, who is Victoria Ramirez Gentry. And I just want to spend maybe my last vacation day looking at some of the experiences I had growing up as a young little ranch boy, farm boy, whatever the case might be. And so this is what we're doing. So we're going to share some experiences. Most of them were fantastic. Some of them might not be as good, life-threatening and things like that, a little daring, but it was all good overall. But this is what we're doing. So we're on 797, and we're going to just hit the road, Emma and I, and we will share periodically, stop and talk a little bit about certain areas. There's some areas I can't get into anymore due to the fact that we don't work the land or the fields or whatever the case might be, but I'll do my best because there were a lot of things we did, from combining to hay baling to picking cotton, broom corn, wheat, and a lot of hay baling and hauling hay and things like that. So I'm gonna probably just be on the edge of the property line to talk as much as I can about it. Maybe in some cases I might go in and see if I don't get caught, but we'll see. Anyway, we're moving forward. 797 on to Olmos. All right, we were on 797 Skidmore to 888. Now 888 is the road that we're going to turn right into right now as Emma and I move forward. And 888, or as my dad would call it, Los Tres Ochos. And Los Tres Ochos was a road that, one, we did a lot of work in the area, but we also used it kind of like as a back way to get from one location to another. You got to remember, we would pull some pretty heavy equipment, and sometimes it was hard to do, especially as a little teenage boy or even under 10 years old. But it was fun. Now you can see ahead that this road is a lot nicer than it was back then. Okay, you got some space here, and so what we would do a lot of times is we had heavy equipment which would take probably the whole width of the road, and imagine this road being in half. So we'd have to pull over on the side to let other traffic, because those tractors and combines didn't go very fast. I think the fastest John Deere I got was maybe 24, 25 miles per hour, which seemed like 80 on a tractor. But this is 888, or as my dad would put it, Los Tres Ochos. Let's move forward. All right, so off 88, we're going to cut left right here to Zaworka Lane. Zaworka, a very popular name when we were growing up, and I'm going to take it straight ahead here. Now, so far I haven't been trespassing. Everything's been, I assume this road is public, but it does take me back to a story where my dad and I were working more towards Clairville, and I'll show y'all Clairville later, the Olmos Clairville area. And so there was a time when my dad and I were going to the back, and we had been cutting hay, and my dad, I know, wanted to check to see if the hay was ready for baling, because you used to have to let it set for a while, let it dry, and then we bale it, whether it's round bales or square bales. But my dad decided to just go on back there, and I could hear the owners, and I could hear probably the dad telling his son, go get a gun, because, I mean, we were pegged as trespassers, even though they knew that we were working back there. But I was kind of too embarrassed to tell my dad we were about to get shot. But I remember crossing the barbed wire fence, and I got cut a little bit because I was kind of nervous, but somehow we made it okay. We weren't trespassing, maybe we were, but we were working back there, and the owners knew it. But we managed to get there, and thankfully the owners basically got deterred and distracted somewhere else. But anyway, that was just my story for trespassing. We didn't trespass, we were just trying to get to our job, and we had to walk a little bit. But anyway, this is Zaworka Lane up ahead. I'm going to keep it right here with Emma filming. The road seems to be about the same. I don't know if it's been redone a little bit or not, but I do know that we did some work here off to the right side, a lot of brush, and I remember cutting a lot of what we did was cutting hay. but I know that there was a little low area here. Sometimes we get flooded, and but you can see just a little bit of it's kind of hard to narrate right now because it's all grown up with brush on the fence line. There's been some houses built out here, but we're going to come up to the infamous 1349, which connects Olmos with 59, which if you turn right, it takes you over to Beeville. But you can see that I have run out of room, so this has changed a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna have to turn around, but let me just stop here for just a little bit. I don't think we'll be shot or anything, but there is a cat right there. You can see cotton up ahead, so let me just tell you a little bit about what's ahead. There is no trespassing, no hunting, but this is if you cut up straight, as I pointed out, it's 1349, but 1349 will connect us eventually to the old stomping grounds where I grew up, where now my sister Honey and brother-in-law Ernest and their family are taking wonderful care of the area, and also living there is my sister Birdie and her husband Domingo. Wonderful people and brothers and sisters, and I love them all. But anyway, straight ahead, if you look again, that would have eventually taken us to the Treptow place. There would have been on the right side, and on the left side, Curly. Chris Curley had a lot of land back there, and so anyway, I can't go any further unless Emma wants to break the law with me, but we're not going to do that. So we're going to back up back to 888, and we're going to move a little further north toward Beeville, and then we're going to cut left again toward another road that I don't at the moment remember which one it is, but I know where it'll get me. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we backtracked Zaworka Lane because I couldn't go any further past that cat, but I'm going to show you where that road ends later. Okay, so if we move forward here, and Emma, my photographer and videographer, are wonderful. She's got a great eye. This is where, if I were on a tractor, I would probably turn left, and I would immediately probably get to the right here. I know up ahead the house isn't here any longer, but I remember my is where my a childhood friend Henry lived, and I remember his mom giving me sweetest lady ever. She would give me Nilla wafers a lot and milk, and so it was in this area, but the house is no longer here. But I do know his grandpa lived back over on Zaworka Lane over on the right. I didn't document it, but a good family, great family, friends of my dad's, and so I got to know them. So we're going to go straight ahead on 888. As I mentioned, this road looks amazing compared to what I had to drive down on a tractor, on a combine, with the baler behind, or a cutter. It was always a challenge, but it looks a lot nicer right now. So we'll move ahead. I'm going to probably take a left in a little bit down a road that I don't remember the number or the name, but we'll get there in just a little bit. And anyway. All right, so we've been down 888, or Los Tres Ochos, as my dad would call it, and we're going to take a left now down Central Lane. And again, I was a little lost as to the location of all these places. I actually thought I had passed Central Lane because, but that road 305, I think, was a little narrow. This is the one I'm familiar with. And earlier when I was commenting about my friend Henry, it very well could be that his house was a little further up. Again, it's been a while. I mean, we're talking when I was a kid in the late 70s, or well, mid 70s, and then into 1981. After that, I didn't do as much work in this area. I was in college, and you know, times changed, and jobs changed, and so forth. So we're talking about myself. I was probably 8 years old going into 1970, so my 1970s were from 8 years old till about 18 years old. So that'll give you an idea of the time span as to when I worked, a very young age. But we're going to keep going down Central Lane. I don't even know if it was called Central Lane. But this is the road that would also tie us to 1349. Now I'm hoping, and I'm almost 100% sure, that this one is going to tie me into 1349, which would be like my home. That if country people had a road, that would be my highway, 1349. So we're hoping that it connects, because the worker lane did not, due to obviously, property lines and so forth. But you can see to the right that a lot of this area is grassy, and I did a lot of cutting. And what we would do, we would cut hay, we'd let it lay for a few days so it would dry, and then we would bale it, and then we would haul it. There were a lot in my family that did a lot of that. Of course, primarily my brother Felipe, my other brother, who's like my brother, my cousin Nacho, Mingo, and Ernest, and a lot of those that I got to work with very closely. It was and then other cousins as well. But you can see straight ahead, and if you look to the right here, I remember almost, if you go a little further past their driveway up on the right, I can almost remember the hay cutting right here past this driveway. Once you pass it to the right, you can kind of see that that's always been some grassy land there. That was fun to cut and mow, and we're gonna keep it here, and let's see how long, because this is kind of a neat road, because as we get up further on the left side, you're gonna see Scarupa family, that, or at least the property was Scarupa, and it was over on my left side, and we did a lot of work there. I remember the house very almost, I picture it completely in detail. Some of the stuff on the right was not here, but over up ahead, and I don't even know if the house is still there, but a lot of land, a lot of farming, a lot of maize harvesting, and that good memories up ahead on the left side. As we hit 1349, got a little archway there, looks like a heart. That's cool. And I'm speeding up a little bit because it's a lot of. This is blocked now. You can't really see to the left or to the right anymore, which is good. But it's hard for me to. Now we're going to focus over on the left side as Emma's panning over left. You're going to notice. I haven't seen this in a while, so it's kind of hard to talk about it in detail. But this was a residence, a home, and as we approach 1349, and you can see that no longer is there a house here, but we did a lot of work here. This was a major area up ahead. Now we're going to flip over to 1349 at the stop sign here, and that's going to cut us right into Olmos, and then we're going to stray a little bit into Clareville, and I'll talk about some of the things. If you look ahead and you look to the right, that takes you to Beeville, or actually takes you to 59 over on the right, and then at that point, a few miles up ahead, 59, and then you turn right to go into Beeville, and you turn left to go to Georgia West. So we're gonna keep it here. As a matter of fact, Emma's gonna keep it right here, and you can see the Scarupa place is still over here on the left side, and I can't really show you too much because things have grown over. No longer farming, or maybe it's just a lot of brush. So we're gonna cut straight ahead onward. This is a special road to me because this is 1349. Where I grew up, we were probably, well, I can't even remember now the mileage, but a little closer to Beeville, or about the same to Beeville as it was to Skidmore. But let's move forward. All right, we're going down. I slowed down immensely here, down 1349. Now we're going to go down Kinkler Lane, and not crash here with this person. And this is Kinkler Lane that ultimately is like, we're in Olmos, but it'll take us over to Clareville. But we're gonna make a little stop here, and Emma and I are gonna take a selfie or something, because this is a spot that's real special to me. And I'm always leery right now because there's somebody behind me, and I just want to make sure that they don't think that I'm trespassing here. It's weird, and I'm gonna pull over right here, just to point this way, and this is a place and it's the Treptow place. I'm letting that vehicle go by. It's the Treptow place, and basically this is where we did a lot of cattle work. This isn't the place where the bull gored me or almost gored me, but we did have a lot of cattle here. My dad, this is a memory where I will say about my dad. He would take some ranch cubes in a bucket, and he would just basically start shaking it, or his voice carried over to the cattle. He didn't even have to have ranch cubes, but the cattle would always merge onto him because they knew their owner was calling for them. And this is a special place. So this will be where I will do a little selfie or something. But this is the Treptow. Further up the road, my dad would call it the Arroyo of the creek, but you can see panning all around that this is a cool place. Up ahead, well, they're not there anymore, but there were barns where we would put hay, and there was also corrals where we would divide the cattle or vaccinate or whatever the case might be. And this is a cool place right here. It's a large area, so when I backtrack in a little bit, you'll see a little more of the Treptow place, and there's also some on across 1349. So anyway, we're going to stop here for just a moment just to take a few shots. Just adding a little more of the visual of what we used to get to see. That was the gate. We would pretty much go through that. You can kind of see where there's a little bit of brush clearing there. That was basically the angle we took. And that barn is still back there. All right. But I don't believe I see corrals, or there were some other things in that area, but we would go all the way back to the back, and then there was a real special place because it was like we would go clear back to the back. We'd cut across a little creek, my dad called it the Arroyo, and it would be like straight ahead, and that would end up back at another place that was connected still to this whole territory here. It was great. Now a little bit later, you're going to see on my left side as we film that you're going to see the Roundtree place where we did a lot of work, and I'll point that out. I think the house is still there. Anyway, this is just a view. My sisters and I took a photo here a few years back, just reminiscing. Anyway, as we move forward down this Kinkler Lane, you're going to see we'll be moving more into like Olmos and Clareville. I guess sister counties, or sister, not counties, but sister countrysides, if you will. We don't call them towns here. You lived in the country. You're from the rancho, and that's what it's about. So this brings back a lot of memories. It certainly brings back moments with my dad. This is cool. He did a lot of work. Man, he was the hardest worker I've ever seen in my life, ever. And just the way the way he controlled the cattle was like out of this world. I mean, he was the original bull whisperer. Not to even mention the Brahma bulls that he raised and basically put them to sleep. Not that way. He would actually make them go to sleep and right in front of him. It was an amazing thing. All right, so we're on Kinkler Lane, and by the way, the Kinklers are a wonderful family. Great namesake here down this road, and went to school with Patsy and Karen. But this is the road that when I would drive it, I'm going to be honest. Okay, let me just tell you a little bit of story. One day, I believe I was married already, and the first year we were married, we lived in Olmos. 1 year in Olmos, and then we moved on to Papalote. But anyway, so one day I was in Beeville, and I got a little bit frustrated with some guys that were tailing me a little bit or in front of me, and they were cruising a little bit too slow. So I passed them up. To the dismay of these people, they actually started chasing me, and we did hit some speeds in excess, and I figured I would lose them right here, because this is the one that if you're going to lose somebody chasing you, this is the road. So I took this a little bit fast, and they were tailing me, and I don't know what happened to those guys, but I know that there was at least 4 of them in the car because I saw 4 hits. But I lost them at this place, and so I'm thankful for this S curve here, and people should not be littering. You saw a bunch of 6-packs over there, but anyway, this is the place that I'm thankful for. So it's real cool. Now look to your left over here. If I can move my head for Emma. Well, you can't really see it, but that was the Roundtree place. Adela Roundtree, a sweet lady that we did a lot of work for. We did a lot of hay baling and just a number of things. And even, I think, I don't know if my sisters even helped cleaning the house and things like that, or we did a lot of work for Miss Roundtree. Wonderful lady. Her brother was Buddy Roundtree. I didn't really know him, but I know that was people that my dad dealt with and did transactions. Now we're going to keep it rolling here because over on the left side you're going to see where my cousin lives, but my aunt and uncle lived there, and it was a great place to come, and I used to love my aunt's refried beans. They were amazing, and you can see right here real quick here, right there. Now my uncle had a place over on the right side, and it's where the Kinklers live, and it's private now. I can't go in there, but he would call it El Potrero, and my uncle would take us there a lot. Now over on the left side you're gonna see this is a lane, the Gaetan lane, where the Amish people live, and we'll go through that one later, but I want to go straight first just to hit another little area that was real cool. If you can peek that way to the right, El Potrero was over there. My tío Nacho, not my cousin Nacho, my tío Nacho would take us there a lot. I remember his dog's name was Skippy, and he would jump up in the bed of the pickup and follow my uncle wherever. We go straight ahead. We're gonna go ahead and hit this little area real quick, but we'll move forward down Kinkler Lane. We'll backtrack it a little bit to go down Gaetan Lane and the Amish community at some point today. So as I'm driving down Kinkler Lane, I come across San Pedro Cemetery, and here's where my grandparents are laid to rest. My mom's parents, Espidio R. and Sinovia G. And she left us in 1957. I never knew her. And he left us in 1963. And I didn't really know him, but I was 1.5 or something like that. But anyway, I needed to stop by. And God bless them. And I know they were good people because if you knew my mom, that kind of says it all. But anyway, God bless them. And the cotton. Yes, I got to pick cotton. I put that old sack on my back, and my dad was amazing at cotton picking. And we would go down and pick as much as we could, and we'd get it weighed at the end, and we'd go dump it into a big old trailer that would be taken. But at that point, we would just picked it. My sisters did, my brother did, my cousins, everybody. We were quite avid cotton pickers, and that was probably the biggest job I did that was field related, where it was manual, because after that, we got tractors and combines and cotton pickers and things like that, and those were cushy jobs compared to manually going out in the heat. And I used to always remember the rain would come, and it was that smell of rain that I still remember, that we knew that we were going to take a break. But yeah, cotton picking was a big part of our upbringing in my earlier years, because later on technology started to advance somewhat, and we didn't have to jump in there as much, but kind of cool, sort of. But I don't want to do it right now. Okay, so it seems like Kinkler Lane is a long lane or road, but we made a few stops, and I got to reminisce a little bit. Now we are at a crossroad, well, a T, and I could go to the right, and that would end up in 59, but I'm going to go ahead and just keep it simple and take a left, and we're going to go down this road. And now, for the life of me, I don't know if this is 796, but you can tell I haven't been here in a while. But this was a road that was kind of a school route, a bus route, if you will. The Nailers and some of those families lived down here. Maxwell, back behind me, I remember my good old friend Charlie Shannon, and so look what's ahead that I didn't have when we were growing up, and it looks like Amish. Maybe I'm wrong. That's too far away. No, I don't. Is it? It's a tractor. It's not the Amish. But you can see somebody's trying to pass the tractor, and that was always fun because you had to try to, beat the oncoming traffic. But there's a tractor that has extended wheels, and that looks like I remember John Deere. John Deere was big, okay, and that was my favorite was John Deere. But we also had the blue Ford tractors. They were okay, but we only had like one or two. And then, of course, Farmall was way back. We had International Harvester, combines, and such. Now, I'm going to take a right here. And this is now Farm to Market 534, which is a fun road. And we're leaving it for we're heading west, I think. And let me just tell you a little bit about this road and where we'll end up. When we took this road, not only was there work to be done as far as field work, but this is also the road that takes me to Sweeney Switch, Dinero, Lagarto. So Lagarto is where my dad was born, and so that's that direction. We probably won't hit Lagarto, but or Dinero, which means money, but we're going to go to Sweeney Switch. So Sweeney Switch to me is, along with work to be done, there's a special curve that always it was just amazing. I would take it pretty quickly. I shouldn't have, but I'm gonna show Emma where that is. And we're entering Live Oak County right here. I didn't even realize that this is where the line is, but we're in Live Oak County. But we would go to Sweeney Switch. There were two stores, and I don't know if they're still there because I haven't been there in a while. But the one on the left was a little convenience store where I actually could drive some of our workers there. And I also knew that on the right side there was some sort of like a restaurant-ish type country restaurant that we didn't go there as much, but we did go to the one on the left side. And so let's see where that takes us. But I also want to show you when we come back to the film, you're going to see that curve. And I'm not going to take it fast. But it was something that, I probably shouldn't have done a lot of things, but especially down these narrow roads. Anyway, we'll move forward down 534 to Sweeney Switch. Now, this is not the curve that I was talking about earlier, the dangerous curve, but on the right side, I can remember working that land right there. Obviously, it was with cutting and baling and such, and there was a little house. That little building is still there. This was the S, and maybe we'll keep it right here just so y'all get an idea. And maybe I'll fast forward just a little part, maybe not, we'll see. But I remember this tree right here at the S. We're about to curve to the right, and also a nice farm up ahead on the right too. And you started kind of getting into some more little hilly area here. Again, remember, when I would take trips with farm equipment, it took a long time to get from point A to point B. So that is usually what I would do. I will say one thing, I don't know if I took this route, but I did take a tractor and a cutter all the way to Whitsett, which means that when you go straight here and you hit 37, I took a right, and my dad trusted me as a young kid. I don't know, maybe he'd already talked to the highway patrolman or whatever, but I managed to go all the way to Whitsett, which is pretty far on a little tractor with a cutter being pulled. I don't remember anybody following me, but I made it there. So we're going to keep it right here because you can see that we're going to hit 37. But this is the little road that I would take, and I think, as I mentioned before, I haven't been here in a while. I don't normally take this route, but you can kind of see there's going to be some little curvy, and Emma can keep it right on the road, and we'll see the curve. As a matter of fact, I'm so unfamiliar with this area now that I gotta be careful. And this is the one. It was probably scarier when you're a kid, or if you're going 80 miles an hour and you go straight. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but here we go. And we're gonna end up coming into Swinny Switch, which is where we would come for goodies. And I was a chauffeur many times as a teenager, or as even a 12-year-old maybe. But I learned how to drive at a very young age. But you can see this is going to go over overpass, and that's 37. When you're a kid, you don't think about, no, that's a major highway. I don't even know if it was freeway. It was probably, I don't remember if there was even a stop sign right there, but you can see that that's on to San Antonio to the right and in Corpus Christi to the left. But we would go straight, and for the most part, we would take a left right here at the stop sign. I think there was a fire department here, but you can see it's now Bart's Mart. That's the name of the store, and wow. But I'm gonna just go in here real quick, and this was the store that we would basically go get goodies at, and it looked a lot bigger back then, but I don't think I'm gonna go in today. But you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and flip it around here, and there's a store straight ahead. It was like a little restaurant, cafe, Swinny Switch Cafe, I guess is what it's called. But and I shouldn't probably do this, but I'm gonna do something here real quick. I shouldn't, because I already committed to the right, but I'm going to. And we're gonna go straight just a little bit. I broke a few little driving regulations there, Emma. Don't do that. But again, we're touring, so you're allowed to do that if you're a tourist. Dinero 3, Lagarto 12. So we're gonna see some water in just a little bit. I'm not gonna go too far, but we came down here. My dad and I did a lot of work over here, and I say my dad and I, but you know, he was as some of the workers would call him. He was el patron. He was the boss man, patriarch, if you will. But we're gonna go and see a little bit of water here. I remember as a kid when we drove this, and I was in the back of the pickup. I used to think this was like scary, because look at the water, and it's like, whoa, you know, and it was just scary to me that was that much water gathered together. It was weird that it affected me that way, but I mean, maybe because I didn't necessarily see this much water a lot, but the first time I did, it was like, oh my gosh, you just picture like it was a flood or something, but it's just beautiful. So this is Swinny Switch, moving into Dinero and then Lagarto, where my dad was born, but I will probably not go that far right now. I'm probably gonna make a U-turn at some point, but just a little more filming here, and then we'll cut back to Olmos and Clareville. Maybe there's another bridge here that we can see. We'll go one more bridge here, and yeah, there's more water here. This is probably the bigger one, I think. I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's still here. I didn't think bodies of water would disappear all of a sudden. The Nueces River. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go a few more miles, and then we'll flip around and catch you probably back in Olmos. All right, so we left Swinny Switch, and we're back on 534, and we're gonna cut back to 797, I think. There it is. Yeah, 797. And we're back in the Clareville Olmos area. But again, just some memories from Lagarto and Dinero and Swinny Switch. Mostly we would just go get candy, or because I was a little boy, so you know that's what we did. Okay, we're gonna take a right here. We can pan it over And you'll notice this is 96, sorry. 797 was the one from Skidmore to 888 and on, but 796, and we're gonna keep it here, and we're gonna look ahead. You can see that, let's see, this is the rounded curve. This is the bus route. This was a major bus route here that we would always have to. Nobody really cared for the dreaded bus ride to get from school back to home, but especially when they went 40 miles an hour. But this is I know that there were some individuals that lived in this curve that were on the bus. I can't remember exactly who all did, but we'll keep it going here, and we're gonna keep it here because we're gonna intersect with Gaetan Lane and Amador Ramirez Lane. It's named after my dad, and we're gonna go down to where the Amish reside, and maybe we'll see some cool things. So we're just gonna float it here as we get closer up ahead. And if you go straight, you're gonna get off on Amador Ramirez Lane. We're gonna take a left to go down Gaetan Lane. If we swerve right, we stay on 796. We'll come back to that one later. And I know I have family here in this area, and they don't know I'm in the area right now. They will by the time the video plays. Hi Bertha, hi Delia, and also Nacho and Dora and several people down our road. But I don't want to disturb anybody, but also trying to keep my distance too. And I'm going to take a left here. This was a popular little turn here because this is how we got home, straight ahead. We'll join up with that later on. And if we don't, just so you know, that is Amador Ramirez Lane, and still have family that lives there. It's a great place, my great place growing up. I know I had talked a little bit about picking cotton earlier. I'll take a left here down Gaetan Lane. But you can see the cotton over on the right side that's not quite ready. But a lot of cotton picking. Hard work, very, very hard work. But also hoeing and weeding the areas as well was something we had to do with our hoe. You always try to sharpen that hoe. My dad was real fast at it. I didn't get too good at it, but I wasn't too bad. But you can see up ahead, you have the Amish community that moved in. I can't remember exactly. They weren't here. You can see some horses over here and pulling some equipment, if you will. I don't know all the verbiage for the Amish, but it's always friendly people. And we'll go straight ahead. Over on the right side, I remember working for the Shillings. I also remember there were three brothers, the Baird brothers, and Hicks Baird was up ahead on the curve. I don't think the house is there anymore. Roger Baird was over on 1349. That house isn't there. And there was one other Baird brother, and it's slipping me right now. Maybe it'll come later. Frank Baird, if I'm correct. But you can see here some area that I grew up in, and of course my godparents are the Gaetans, wonderful people. And you can see, you know, not too many people can have an intersection with their dad and their godfather and godmother, and it's pretty cool having that named after some amazing people. Oh, by the way, up ahead on the left side, I can tell you exactly the earlier story about the people that were about to shoot my dad and myself, but not because, it's just because they thought we were trespassing, but we were working in the area. It's this house over on the left side. If I'm correct, it was this house right here, and we went toward the back, and we weren't shot, as you will, you know, we made it. And on the right side is where my godparents live. Again, wonderful people. Raimundo and Mickey, Gaetan, Isabel. Amazing people. And further up ahead, the other times we would come down this road is because my aunt and uncle lived up ahead. And we used to eat there a lot. We used to work with my uncle. And I know I did some work down this little gully, down this little arroyo, if you will. And anyway, that's going to bring us up to the Kinkler Lane, and we'll meet up back on. I'm going to take a right, and then I'm going to meet up back on 1349, and I'm going to take a right there, and we'll pick up right there. So I'm going to take a right, and then we're going to take a right, and back on 1349. Okay, so we backtrack down Kinkler Lane, and if you can see ahead that we are at a T, and that's back at 1349, straight ahead, and I'm going to take a right. We came from the left side earlier. I'm going to take a right because now we are in an area where on the right side was what we called the Trepto place, but my dad always called it El Arroyo, and you'll see why, the creek, El Arroyo. But before we do, look on the left side, there was also a place that was called the Hatcher place. And years ago, not too many years ago, we went there, and the people were so friendly that they let us check some area out. But I don't know if I can do that today, but we'll keep going to the left. This is actually, well, yeah, a lot of stuff back over here on the left side and the right. So now we're starting to hit an area where a lot of memories are flooding my mind right now, because over on the left side, the Hatcher place, Milton Hatcher, and a lot of work back there. And then over on the right side, El Arroyo, this was all cleared out, but I will tell you one thing that happened with my nephew Michael and I. We a pickup caught on fire, so we had to kind of run. We put it out, but we had to go home. We walked all the way home down this road, and you can see here the creek, the Arroyo. Nothing in there, it's dry, but that's at least what my dad named it. And so, but I'm gonna maybe stop just a little bit here. There's some cattle over on the right, and we had cattle out there down this gate. And let me just take a little trip down. I'm gonna lower the window for Emma down that road. There it is. That was a very popular route that we would take back there to the Arroyo and to the cattle. And also, that was also where I almost got a coral snake bite, but one of the workers saved my life. So there's a lot of memories that were good and some memories that weren't so good, but hey, I'm alive, and that's important. So if we go straight ahead, over on the left side, the Martins, we used to ride ponies over there. I remember Smokey and Red. I can remember the names of the ponies. So my brother was on Red, and I got on Smokey. But the Martins lived over here. There's a lot of growth here, and it's hard to see anything. You know, that was their drive, their road, and then we get up here with family. Of course, my aunt and uncle lived up ahead on the left side, and then there's some more cotton. Then up ahead, after we pass the homestead of my aunt and uncle, over on the left side, there was another little road that I may pull in just a little bit. If you remember earlier, I hit that dead end where we hit that caterpillar, and we couldn't go any further, and so this is where it would have come out on 1349 from Zawarka Lane, and I don't even know if I can find an entrance. I probably passed it up. Oh, there it is. It was on the left side, but that's where it would have come out. But we don't have the rights to go through there anymore. I'm sure it's locked up and everything, but this is also a place. When we had combines right here, we had to go through this little spot right here because the combines were pretty wide, 6-row combines. Over on the right side, there's cotton, but we worked all this land right here. Now, this is the curve that flooded and floods immensely. So when this got flooded, we would have to go the other route, which is Kinkler Lane and down Gaetan Lane. Unless that was flooded, and we would go on to 796. But you can see there's water, a little bit of water here. But now, this is the sign that Emma was asking about. So we're going to stop and take a few shots. This was an always Amador Ramirez Lane, and it's named after my dad. And I'm going to try to pull over into the grass, and so she can take some shots of it. All right, so this is Amador Ramirez Lane, and this was named after my dad. But and I have sisters and brothers and sisters and cousins and everything down this lane. But I won't be stopping. But maybe we'll see him outside. But anyway, hello, Sis Honey and Sis Birdie, my cousin Nacho and Adora. Also had my cousin Feto, who recently passed away, up ahead on the right side. And it looks like the mailman has come. But this is where I grew up, over on the right side. You can see the house that my sister and brother-in-law have kept up beautifully, and I'm glad that someone's carrying on the tradition, and it's beautiful. And I don't even know if they're home or not, but they may be, but I don't want to intrude right now, and I'll just let them know that I love them, and everything looks amazing. And you can see there, and we'll keep going. My cousin Nacho, my brother Nacho over on the left side, and my late cousin Beto over on the right side. Also had an aunt and uncle up ahead, who still, I guess, passed on that homestead over on the right side. And I used to play football with a cousin of mine right there, right behind that little cistern area, and we would pretty much knock ourselves unconscious. And some more cotton. And we're going to meet up again with the Gaetan Lane, and we'll Gaetan Lane, my godparents and my dad, his namesake. And we're going to get back on 796. And then let's join up again on 796 and another special spot that I want to talk about in just a little bit. We're going to take a left here to 796, and then we'll be right back. All right, so we're on 796. Over on the right is a real special family, the Sunigas. My dad was very good friends with Mr. Suniga, and in the homestead there's a few buildings, barns, but he was a good man, and he passed away a couple of months, maybe 3, prior to my dad. Very just a good man. There's not much you can say. You know, they were real good friends. Now up ahead to the left, and I'm going to make a left off 796 onto 797, which is the way roads should be named, one after the other, but it's not always the case. This is the little store, the Sugarrick store, and it's the one we would come to more often than Swinny Switch because it was closer, and this is where we would come get some goodies. And a real wonderful family, the Sugarricks, Botch and his family. And I know it's hard to see it, and we'll try to, you can look to your left there. It's kind of grown over, but it you know, as a little child it was humongous, but if I can kind of, we would walk in, and over on the left side my dad's friends were there, and they would, it was like a little cantina, if you will, and my dad called this de la tiendita, the little store. And if you go back to the right, was all the candy and things like that, and then straight ahead was ice cream, but a wonderful family that owned that store, and good memories in that store by all means. We also used to get kerosene from there for lighting lamps and things like that in case we lost power. and things like that. So that was always a fun memory. But we're going to keep rolling straight ahead because we've got a lot coming up here. Well, mainly one more thing coming up here before we hit the road back home. But if you look straight ahead and we curve to the right and curve to the left, it's an S. There's a lot of S's in this area, like even back at SUNY Squids, the S. And so there was the Olmos Clubhouse. The Olmos Clubhouse, and I don't remember everything that happened there, but I do remember my sister Margaret's reception took place there, because I remember pictures. Margaret and Manuel Olivo, they had their reception here. And I also remember my sister Lisa throwing me a party, 17th birthday party, and I don't know how she did it, but she pulled it off. We had a little party here, and here it is. You can kind of see it back there. It's kind of hard to see it, but that was the Olmos Clubhouse. It was a school at one point. So anyway, and we move forward here on 796. I'm sorry, we're on. This is actually 1349, but we're gonna get on 797 in a little bit. There's a little bit on the left that I'm gonna probably bypass and just tell you a little bit about the Barlow homestead. We did a lot of work down the Barlow homestead, the Muhlsteins, over on the left side. Just to name a couple of families that we did. We used to go get our eggs. Let's go there. How often can you document where you used to go buy eggs? And it was from a family who was very, they provided a lot of eggs. They had the whole setup. And so when we didn't get our eggs from our chickens to feed all our family, we would go to the Muhlsteins and Mrs. Muhlstein and Mr. Muhlstein, and I believe they had maybe a daughter and such. And but before we get there, look on the right side, and you will notice that up ahead is the Barlow homestead. And I remember we did a lot of work. And here it is on the left side. I think this is where the place was, if I'm correct, with the Muhlsteins, where we would buy eggs. And we also worked a lot of the land there as well. And the Barlows is on the right side. And way back there, I don't even think there's a house back there anymore. It would be way to the right, Emma, and way over there, but I don't even believe that there's a house there. But all of that land to the right is what we were. Anyway, we're gonna backtrack and get back on 797, and if there's a few more things we want to talk about during this little tour, we'll get to it. So this is, if you look ahead, I'm actually heading Skidmore direction, but my sister Margaret and I, or me, whatever the grammar is, and my nephew Manny, this is about the spot right here where we were flooded and the car started to float to our right. We were coming from the other direction, but this is about the spot right here where the flooding took place, and it was quite memorable. I ended up running up ahead to a house, and then shortly thereafter Manny and Margaret followed me, but which I don't blame them, because I'm like, well, I'll go get help. But I didn't know where I was going to get help, because in the house there was a lady and she wasn't in really condition to help. So I remember my brother-in-law Mingo brought a tractor, and we ended up getting it towed, and it was pretty much underwater. But I don't know if the car ever survived. It was flooded in, but we managed to get it out and on over to the ranch. So anyway, as we come across further ahead, I remember a good friend of mine when it was the Crawfords lived over on the left side, and they lived way down that road, and I never went over there, but I know it's a long trip, a long driveway, if you will. And this is the little bridge that will ultimately get us over to 888, but now I'm going the other direction. We're going to go straight at the stop sign, back into Skidmore, and on home to Papalote. But this is just a little recap. I know, thank Emma for filming, and also inspired by my daughter, Victoria, that we will probably do this again from a different perspective. But it was just a quick video and just some of the areas that I grew up. And I apologize that so much of it has grown over now. It's like brushland, and you don't see farming. It's not farmland or ranch land. It's just a lot of brush. But I don't know if those are signs of everyone becoming more urbanized. Is that a word? But rural was the word back then. And a lot of good work, a lot of fun times working on the ranch and on the farm. And you know, great childhood, mostly good stuff. Thank you for joining us.